Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Rini and I love sharing DIY decor and craft videos. Okay, so I have been noticing these viral moon lamps all over the internet from quite some time. So today I'm excited to recreate them and put a bit of my own spin on it. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification to get notified every single time I post a new video. So let's jump right into it. First, I grabbed a balloon and inflated it to the size I wanted for our moon lamp. I made it rounded just like a moon, and after twisting the end several times, I tied a knot at the end of the balloon. I pulled it tight and then I placed the balloon on a small bowl to ensure it stayed upright. Then I whipped up a paste by mixing equal parts Mod Podge and water in a bowl. I made the mixture a little runny to spread it evenly. Next, I ripped a number of small pieces of toilet paper. I applied the Mod Podge mixture to the balloon where I intended to attach the paper. Then I placed the paper on top and using a foam brush dipped in the mixture, I carefully pressed the glue onto the toilet paper piece to stick it to the balloon. I lightly tapped the foam brush over the paper, pressing it onto the surface and removing any air bubbles. I continued this process, layering more paper pieces onto the balloon, slightly overlapping them to create a smooth and even surface. As I tried to pull the brush across the paper, I noticed that it tore easily, so I kept on tapping it gently. I glued the paper pieces one at a time, covering the entire surface of the balloon and leaving a little gap at the bottom for pulling the balloon out once the paper dried. I planned on covering the balloon with 3 to 4 layers of paper to make sure it would be sturdy after drying. As I added more layers, I tore the edges of the paper just a bit to soften them up. I thought this would give the moon lamp a nicer, smoother look once it's all lit up. Once I was happy with the coverage, I set it aside to dry completely. To create the base of our moon lamp, I used tumbling tower blocks. I grabbed this from the Dollar Tree. I needed 32 rectangular blocks in total. The first step was to make longer rectangular blocks by gluing 2 pieces together using wood glue. I applied the glue evenly and pressed the pieces firmly to establish a good binding. I kept joining the blocks and holding the 2 pieces together in place for a while to ensure a stronger bond. I made sure to wipe off the excess glue. So we were going to make 16 long rectangular blocks in total. Once the glue dried, I moved on to staining the blocks to give them a warm and natural tone. To create the stain, I dipped a black tea bag in a tiny bowl of water. After letting it sit for a while, I dipped a foam brush and applied the stain onto the wood pieces. Tea staining raw wood gave them a warm tone. It enhanced the wood's original grain and texture by giving it a soft brown tint. Using less water will result in a stronger tea solution and a darker stain. You can also use oil-based wood stain for this project. I made sure to coat all the sides as well. If you want a bit more intense color, you can let the first coat dry and then apply another layer on top. After I stained all the pieces, I set them aside to dry. Then after the paper had fully dried, I took a pair of scissors to make a small snip at the balloon's knotted end. Once it was completely deflated, I removed it from the shell. Then I traced a perfect circle on the bottom of the shell using a deodorant bottle cap. After that, I followed the pencil markings as I cut along the outline. And then once the stain dried completely, I was ready to move on to assembling the base of the moon lamp. I started by forming a square frame with 4 long rectangular blocks. I used wood glue to join the 4 blocks together at the corners. I secured the corners in position by holding them firmly. This way, I made 4 square frames using the rectangular blocks. It was time to stack them up to create the base. I started by laying 1 square frame flat on the surface. Then I placed another frame on top but at a 45-degree angle to the first one. The goal was to ensure symmetry in the small triangular areas formed under the 4 corners. So using a pencil, I marked the areas where I needed to apply the wood glue to secure the 2 frames together. Once marked, I applied the glue on those areas. Then I pressed the frames together firmly. I stacked the third frame on top of the second, perfectly aligning it with the bottommost frame, which is the first. Then I marked its position and glued it down. Finally, I grabbed the fourth frame and turned it at a 45-degree angle, just like the second one. I glued everything down and the base of our moon lamp was ready. I think this pattern added a lot of visual interest to the base. To finish off, I grabbed some battery-powered string lights and put them into the moon structure. This completed our DIY moon lamp. I couldn't believe how much it exceeded my expectations. I'm totally in love with the piece. Let me know what you think. That wraps up today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts or suggest what we should tackle next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.